Chapter number 4 is on genetics. And the first question, or in your homework or class assignment, it's question number 15th. So 15th is what is phenotype, and 16th is what is genotype. Give examples. So I will go to the slides on genetics. So let's look into these terminologies. They are the major questions on the assignments. So what is phenotype? Phenotype is external physical appearance of a living things. So for example, in case of plants, it could be, so plants could be, you can look at the height of the plant. It could be tall, it could be short. You can look at the color of the flower. You can look at the color patterns of the leaves. So whatever you can appreciate by observing through your eyes, those are the physical attributes. The color, the height, the pattern of veins on the leaves, the seed, that if you're buying a seed from a farmer shop, then all these are physical attributes that you can appreciate through your eyes. You don't know the genetics about. It's just the physical appearance of a living being in case of plants. The next question is genotype. So let's say there is a purple color flower, and this purple color flower is represented by 2 chromosomes diploid by big B and big P, or let's say big P and big P, purple. Then this is the genotype. So let's say the tallness could be, the tallness of a plant could be represented by big T, big T. So this tallness becomes a physical attribute called as phenotype, and the big T becomes the genotype. It represents the chromosome. So let's say if a plant is short or dwarf, this could be represented by small t, small t. So shortness or short plant becomes the phenotype, and a small t becomes the genotype. So let's context of flower. Let's say flower is purple color. So the purple color is phenotype, and the genotype is big P, big P. And white flower could be small p or small p. So each genotype, each gene can give rise to, the message here is that each genotype can give rise to a phenotype. So small t, when a plant has a gene or chromosome, small t, then the plant is short. When it's big T, then it is tall. Okay? So that's phenotype and genotype. What is an allele? On the chromosome, so this is the chromosome. Let's say this is a chromosome of an individual, a human being. 2 chromosomes, one from father, one from mother. And so let's say on these chromosomes, there are various genes. So these genes are located at a particular position on the chromosome. So let's say hair color. So let's say father might have, let's say, black color. Let's say mom has brown color, right? Let's say a father is short and mom is tall, the growth genes. So when genes are present, so genes are, to sum this up, genes are present on chromosomes at a specific positions, and these genes, they represent characters, right? And these characters could be same, it could be identical, or it could be different. So these genes which exhibit or which codes for or which express similar or contrasting characters. So similar could be both the parents could be tall, or it could be contrasting, that one parent is tall and the other is short. So this, when a gene codes for a character which could be recognized, that gene is called as allele for height, because we are looking into tallness and shortness. So that was question number 3. What is the difference between an allele and a chromosome? So an allele, as I mentioned to you just now, an allele is present on a chromosome. So let's say here, genes and alleles, they are present on chromosome. So the next question, is why Gregor Mendel is called as father of genetics. Father of genetics. So Gregor Mendel did all the work to explain the mechanism of inheritance, major work. And at that time, in the mid 1800s, there were less sophisticated microscope, there was least technology, but just because of his observations on the inheritance of characters, in pea plants. In pea plants, he could propose how characters are inherited from one generation to the next generation. So based upon the flower color, the height of the plants, he could understand the mechanism of inheritance, and he proposed the laws of inheritance. But why he became father is because his work, which he did on the pea plant, was so strong, was so solid, that we can explain some of the genetic diseases in humans also. For example, sex-linked disease like color blindness, which is a major problem. If a person is colorblind, he cannot distinguish between different colors. If a person is night blind, he cannot see in the night. So these are inherited through sex-linked. Why I call this sex-linked? Because these, so remember this human beings, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes or 46 chromosomes. The 23rd number chromosome is called as sex chromosome. Sex chromosome. If there is a problem in this chromosome, then this is passed on to the next generation. So if there is any problem in the sex chromosome to 23rd chromosome, and that is passed on from one generation to the next, then it is a sex-linked disease such as color blindness. So that was the contribution of Mendel, huge. He is the starting point for the field of genetics. Whenever you hear the word genetics, it means it is talking about inheritance. Why did the question number 6 is, why did Mendel choose pea plants to understand traits? So Mendel did a lot of hard work, but he was very lucky. He was lucky in the sense that he was not observing in humans, because humans, you can only observe for one generation because we tend to live longer. But pea plants you can grow every year or more than once in a year, and also so you can grow annually at least every year, and you can generate and you can grow. We can grow pea plants or any plant in large number. We can grow pea plant in large numbers. That is good, right? Because we can observe more. We can come up with statistics. We can come up with number. In humans, if you do the same experiment, you can observe one family, and one family could live, depending upon various situations. So, but in 150 years, you can study 50 generations of pea plants, or maybe more, and each generation could be thousands of pea plants. So, he was a mathematician, a very good observer. He was a very good observer. He loved nature, and he was a mathematician. So he observed the pattern of inheritance from one generation of one pea plant to the next. And then based upon his mathematical models or interpretation, he could propose hypotheses. And those hypotheses stood the test of time, that in today's date is called as laws of Mendel's law 1, law of dominance, law of independent assortment, law of segregations. So he did amazing work for us, especially to explain many human diseases. So that's why he's father of genetics. Okay, so that's why he chose pea plant, because it could grow in large number. He could get a lot of data from them. He can come to a conclusion. So what is the difference between recessive character? What is the difference between a dominant and a recessive character? So let's say a plant is tall, right? So this tall plant we could represent by, so tallness is phenotype. The genotype would be, let's say, big T, big T. Let's say it is crossed with a short plant. Then shortness is a phenotype. This phenotype can be represented by genotype, small t, right? Now, for sake of understanding, let me redo it. So tall represented by big T, big T. Okay. And a short plant represented by small t, small t. Small t, small t. Now, for sake of understanding, let's say, let's give a number to this. Let's say this tall plant is 100 centimeters long, and the short plant is, in height, we could measure, it is 50 centimeters long, right? So if these two plants, they are crossing, they are fertilizing, right? They are fertilizing. So you have fertilizing means male gametes and female gametes. So remember, before fertilization, so a gamete is formed by meiosis. So when a meiosis will occur, there will be reduction in the chromosome number. So reduction will be half. So this will become big T, and this will become small t. So reduction by half. Now when these two gametes, when they cross, pollen grain and ovary, when they cross, it will give rise to plant with genotype, big T and small t, right? So tall and short plant, big T and small t, they've underwent meiosis to give rise to gametes. This is haploid, half the number of chromosomes, they form TT. Now, a common sense would say that, okay, one plant was, common sense would say that, okay, this plant was 100 centimeter, this plant was 50 centimeter, so they are fertilizing, they have undergone reproduction, so this plant should be 75, right? Average, 100 plus 50 divided by 2, 75. So this plant should be intermediate, 75. But what happens? This plant, it is not 75. It is not 75. Instead, this plant, all the plants are 100 centimeter long. What does it mean? This means that this character is dominating over this character. So tallness is dominating over shortness. So remember, many students, they get confused that this plant is tall here instead of being intermediate is because the short plant is disappeared, is destroyed. No. When one character expresses more over the other, so tallness is expressing more over shortness. So tallness becomes dominant. This doesn't mean that the short character is deleted, is removed. It is suppressed for time being. So separation in genetic term, we use recessive. So tallness is a dominant character because it expresses itself, and shortness is a recessive character because it doesn't express itself. It might express later on. So sometimes you can see that families with shorter parents may have long kids or vice versa. So when you do the pedigree analysis, you find, oh, grandmother or grandfather was tall. So somehow the parents were short, but again, the grandkids, they become tall. So these things, that's what makes genetics very interesting subject, right? It doesn't get over with pea plants, so there are so many attributes to genetics that we still don't understand. We don't understand our own chromosome, right? So a character that expresses itself is called as dominant, and the character that is hidden, we don't use the word hidden. So every area or discipline has its own terminologies. We use the word recessive. So what's the next question? Is what is the difference between homozygous and heterozygous trait? So let's look at this slide. So let's look at this slide. So let's say this is a purple color flower. This is a purple color flower, and right. So this is a purple color flower, and right. So this is a purple color flower. This is represented by a genotype, big B and big B. Since both these chromosomes are identical, so they are called as homozygous. So since the purple color is dominant color, so it is called as homozygous dominant. Now, as I mentioned the word dominant, purple color, so even if big B and small b is present, where small b is a recessive character, white flower is hidden, it is suppressed, it is recessive. So there could be three situations, right? Big B, purple color flower, since these two chromosomes are identical, it's called as homozygous dominant. Big B and small b, they are not identical. Big B stands for tallness and small b stands for shortness. So this is heterozygous. And when small b, they come together, it becomes homozygous recessive. So let's understand in context of tallness. So TT, it represents tallness. And this is homozygous dominant. Small t represents shortness. Because they're identical, so it is homozygous recessive. It doesn't express itself. What about this? So this is big T, small t is heterozygous. But because tallness is dominant, all the plants are tall, so this is heterozygous condition. Okay. So just to write here, big T or big P, they are dominant, homozygous dominant. Big T, small t or big P, small p, it is heterozygous. Small p and small t, they are homozygous recessive. So this is homozygous dominant because tall color and purple color are dominant. Big T and small t, they are heterozygous. And this is small p for white color flower, small t for short flower. They are recessive. So they are called as homozygous recessive. What's the next question is, why did the F1 generation show all the flowers to be purple than a mix of white and purple? So let's go back to slides. So this is from this slide. So in F1 generation, why all the plants are purple? That's because the purple color is dominant. So a color that is dominant will express itself. So that's the reason that purple color is dominant. What's the next question? During complete dominance, what are the genotypes and the phenotypes? So what are the genotypes and the phenotypes here? Pay attention. So what do you see here? You see here, phenotype means visually, physical appearance. So what do you see here as a visual? So there are four squares here, and the 4 squares has 3 purple, 3. So I have 3 purple and 1 white flower in this F2 generation. So the ratio is 3:1, phenotype, physical. But if you look at the genotype, what do you see here? Big P, what do we see here? We see here that big P, there is only 1. Big P, small p, there are 2. And small p, there are 1. So the genotypic ratio is 1:2 to 1. And the phenotypic ratio is 3:1. So 3 purple flower, 1 white flower. 3:1, 1:2 to 1 is the genotype. 1 homozygous dominant, 1 homozygous recessive is small p, and 1 heterozygous, 2 heterozygous. 2 heterozygous, 1 homozygous dominant, and 1 homozygous recessive. So that's so let's look at another next question. Incomplete dominance. Incomplete dominance is, so when there are rules, there is always an exceptions, right? So when Mendel came out with this, many scientists, they try to look at various other situations. Here, if you see, it is called as, so purple flower is a situation of complete dominance. Here you see the white flower and the red flower. When they're crossed, they make pink flower, which means that none of the colors are dominant, right? None of the colors are dominant. So there's blending. So what is the phenotype here? The phenotype here is that there is one red flower. There is one red flower. There are two pink flowers, and there is one white flower, one. So the phenotype is 1:1. Now let's look at the genotype. So genotype, you see that there are two CRs, right? It's two CR. Right? There are two CRs, right? CR stands for red, and that is only one. If we look at the heterozygous, what is a heterozygous? A red color flower and a white color flower. That is CRCW. That is how many? Two. So you see here, CRCW are the pink flowers. So there are two. And then CW, they are again one. Right? So in case of incomplete, why incomplete? Because none of the characters are dominant here. So the phenotype in F2 generation is 1 to 2 to 1, and the genotype is 1 to 2 to 1. So phenotype and genotypes are similar in case of incomplete dominance. So let's look at, I believe, yeah. So this is very important questions. First was, give few examples of sex-linked diseases. So like color blindness, night blindness. And the second was why females are couriers. A female can, so let's say in males, right, we have sex chromosome as X and Y, right? So X and Y. So let's say if the X chromosome has a problem, then this male will always exhibit the disease, will always exhibit a disease, right? But in case of females, ladies, what happens that there is two X chromosome, right? So if one of the chromosome has problem, then no big problem. Why? Because the normal, so one has problem and one is okay, right? This is okay. So the good healthy chromosome will take care of this problematic X. So this female will be carrier of the disease, but she will be normal. She will be normal, no problem, right? But a male, when X comes, why? Because males have X, only one X. If that is problem, male will 100% will have disease. But a female will have disease only when both the chromosomes are having problem. So when both the chromosomes are having problems in ladies, then only ladies will be showing the disease. That could be color blindness or anything, any other disease also, hemophilia or sickle cell anemia or cystic fibrosis. Right? So there are many sex-linked diseases. So female have an advantage because of an extra X chromosome. If it is normal, female could be only carrier Now thing is that marriage could be, it could be between normal male and normal female. It's perfectly normal. It could be with a disease male with a carrier of a disease, or both could be having disease. So there are various permutation and combination. And then it will depend upon whether a girl would be sick or whether a boy was born to these parents. So all these we could answer by through genetics, and it all falls back to Mendel's work. So that's why Mendel is called as father of genetics. Okay. So we take care of second chapter number 4. Any questions?
No, Professor, no questions.
Okay. Nene, any question?
No question.
Okay. So let's.
I have a question, Professor. I don't have 5.
Say again?
I said the document I have, it doesn't have chapter 5.
Yes, yes. So so I'm going to read the questions for 5, okay, and I'll upload that. Okay.
Okay.
So so the question, but you have the chapter but you should have the slides and the video, right? Recordings, right?
Yes.
Okay.